Hello everyone! In this video, we're going to talk about the Form Designer tool and show you around the interface. Demonstrate how we get started by dragging controls onto the canvas to start building our form. First things first, I've named this form demo, which isn't that helpful, so I'm going to click on the pencil icon next to the name to rename it. While we cannot rename the form in the Define step, we can do it from here. I will name this form the training form and click on Save. An important thing to know is that there's no Save button, other than the Save button we just saw during the renaming process. All changes to the form are saved automatically. We have a couple of options up in the top right corner here. The first is the eyeball icon, which allows you to preview your form as you are creating it, allowing you to see what it might look like on a mobile device. We can test out the form by typing in the fields, checking the drop-downs, and other controls on the form. Besides that is the wrench icon, which allows us to create actions or scripts. We will cover this in another video. Now let's look at our canvas. Don't worry about the size of the canvas, as we can change that at any time. That's controlled from this dialog box on the right-hand side. If we have one of the controls selected, it will identify the chosen control in the Selected Control dialog box. If there are no controls selected, then the canvas will be selected automatically. We can go to the Styles tab and change the width, height, padding, and so on. Let's say we want to start from a clean slate. I can right-click on the canvas, and it will give me the option to cut, copy, and paste. We can also undo or redo any action that we have made. Now, if we want to start with a fresh canvas, I can choose to select all controls, then right-click again, and select Delete Selected Controls. Now we have a fresh canvas to start building our custom form. Now let's focus on the controls. We can pick any of these controls and drag and drop them on the canvas. I have no label selected. So let's drag this text box onto the canvas. As you can see, it is just a text box with no label. If we were to preview it, we could see what it looks like. Now if I choose a top label and drag the same text box onto the canvas, we can see it has a space above the text box to put in a description. If I choose the left label and drag the same text box control onto the canvas, the label is now on the left-hand side. The label option stays with the last option that you chose, so every control that I pick after that will be on the left-hand side. If I choose this text box with the label on the left, this is now a group of objects. You can see it immediately identified the name as labeled control, with a unique code after it. If I click on the left, then you'll see the selected control is called a label with its own code. Click it again, and it goes back to the labeled control, which is the whole group. Now, if we click again on the right side, that's the actual text box, which is identified in the name. So this text box control is made up of the label, text box, and full labeled control. This is worth knowing and understanding. A situation where this might be important is if I say I want this text box control to take up 80% of the total width of the canvas. Then I can choose the percentage that's used by the text box or the label. I can set the text box to 75%, which is 75% of the actual control width. Also, I should mention that we have the option to choose from percentage or pixel when adjusting the size of our controls. Now, if I set the label control back to 100, we can see the text box is still taking up 75% of the actual control width. When we go to the Style option, I can select from an existing style or create my own by selecting the pencil icon. Then click on the plus icon, enter a name, and click on the check icon. The best practice when naming is to give a clear description of the style. For this example, I will name it Blue 16 underline. The first option is the font family, then the font size, then the font style of 16 and underlined. Now we can pick the color of the font from the color or add a custom color hex code. We can set a certain background color or create a custom border. Depending on which property of the control you have selected, such as the label, text box, or the whole control will determine what part of the control is assigned to this style. For this example, it will only apply to the text box, being that's the part we have selected. Now, if we use the preview, we can see the text I am typing is blue and underlined in the text box, but the label is still in its original style. These styles are shared between forms and projects. If you make any changes to an existing style, it will also make these changes on the other forms containing this style. So, it's best practice not to change any existing styles and to create a new one when needed. In the next video, we will look at how to add and set up all the basic controls.